You don't see John Corvino around much since same-sex marriage was legalized across the United States. And that's a shame because he's a very impressive speaker and debater, and I'd like to see more of him. Here's a debate he did with Gallagher in 2012.
There are gay people in the world. They are our friends and neighbors, our fellow students, our family members, our fellow citizens. Second, gay people find happiness in same-sex relationships. You might not like it, you might not even understand it, but so it goes. Third, when they find that happiness, it does not take anything away from you.
This is why I think many of the people who oppose gay rights are motivated by sadism. This is obviously not true of all opponents of gay rights, but it's clear to me that many simply don't like gay people and want them to suffer.
It does not take anything away from you. Giving marriage to gay people does not mean taking it away from straight people. It's not like there's a limited number of marriage licenses and once we run out of them, they're gone.
Phyllis Schlafly used to argue that recognizing same-sex marriage harms traditional marriage because it equates the two as equal, and that doing so is an insult to marriage. I've heard others argue that if gay couples are allowed to get married, then straight men will see marriage as gay and be less motivated to get married. These are both problems, assuming they are legitimate, caused by anti-gay bigotry rather than gay marriage.
Relationships are good for people. This is something, actually, that I don't think we spend enough time talking about. People say, oh, it makes you happy. Yes, but it's not just about the subjective pleasure of it. A relationship can get us outside of ourselves, can help us grow. At its best, it can be an avenue toward making us better people. When we have someone to come home to at night, to wake up with in the morning, to share life's joys and sorrows and challenges with, to commit to for better or for worse until death do we part, this is good for people.
This is an argument that folks who call themselves pro-marriage often use. If this is what they believe, why would they want to discourage consenting adults from involving themselves in such relationships? If relationships, especially marriages, really have these benefits, why exclude people who will never be able to form romantic attachments to anyone who is not of their own sex?
People might say, yeah, the relationships, they make people happy, but what's in it for society? And one thing I'd say in response to that is, well, gay people are a part of our society. Remember, they're friends and neighbors and family members and so on, and anything that helps them but doesn't take anything away from anyone else is a gain to society. But there's more to it than that. Because happy, stable couples make happy, stable neighbors. When there's someone whose job it is to take care of you and vice versa, that means that your neighbor and that the state is less likely to have to do that. So in my view, this is a kind of win-win situation. It's good for the couples themselves, but also good for society at large because society has an interest in promoting and encouraging this kind of stable commitment for all of its members, gay and straight alike.
It's ironic that conservatives, especially the ones who drone on about the importance of family, want to discourage gay folks from forming familial relationships with their partners. It's even more ironic that this might make gay folks more likely to become dependent upon the state welfare system.
Well, some people say if we allow same-sex couples to marry, that will be a threat to traditional marriage. I've been doing this for a long time. Honestly, I don't get this argument. Do we think that if we support gay people in their relationships, people will stop having straight relationships and all go gay? The usual response to a gay person is not, hey, no fair.
Since there are religious folks who claim that everyone deals with sinful same-sex attractions, and that condemnation of homosexuality is necessary to help people fight these attractions, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there are some opponents of same-sex marriage who do think, hey, no fair, in reaction to the prospect of gay marriage.
How come he gets to be gay? Do we think that if we support same-sex marriage, straight people will give up on the institution of marriage? What's that dinner conversation going to look like? Well, Jane, I wanted to marry you, but now the guys next door are getting married, so forget it.
This sounds funny, but there are people who actually think this way. In Australia, there's a couple threatening to get divorced if same-sex marriage is legalized there. But the favorite argument of opponents of same-sex marriage is, what about the children? They are convinced that same-sex couples simply cannot raise children as well as opposite-sex couples.
When we compare intact same-sex couples with intact different-sex couples controlling for other variables, we find the children do just as well either way. You don't have to take my word for that. The American Academy of Pediatrics has said the same thing. If you don't believe them, how about the American Psychological Association, the National Association of Social Workers, the Child Welfare League of America, the American Medical Association? Every major health and welfare organization that has commented on this issue has said the same thing. The children, there don't appear to be marked differences between the two cases.
What seems to matter most is stability. As long as kids have adults who are consistently part of their lives throughout their upbringing, that's what seems to matter most. The reaction I sometimes hear to studies that say this is either it's too soon to tell, or the APA has been taken over by cultural Marxists, or some other such hand-waving dismissal.
But suppose you disagree. Suppose you think that all of those organizations are wrong, and that that is the optimal situation for child rearing. The conclusion about same-sex marriage still would not follow. Why? Because same-sex marriage never takes children away from competent biological parents who want them.
However, denying same-sex marriage to same-sex couples who already raise children relegates those children to being raised by an unmarried couple. If you believe that children are best raised by a married opposite-sex couple, don't you think they would be better raised by a married same-sex couple than an unmarried same-sex couple?
It's not that by letting me marry, you give me license to kidnap children from their own biological parents. So in a way, I think we're asking the wrong question. The question is not, where do kids do better in same-sex families or in different-sex families? The question is, would allowing same-sex couples to marry improve child welfare or hurt child welfare? And prohibiting same-sex couples to marry is not going to mean that any more children get the intact biological family that's supposed to be optimal. No more children are going to get that just because we prohibit same-sex couples to marry. But what will happen is that all of the children who are currently being raised by same-sex couples, couples who often give them homes, take them out of foster care when they're difficult to place, do not get the security and support of marriage.
Thanks again, Patreon people.